How do you discover your quilting voice and gain the confidence in your quilting ideas? Join me today. We're going to talk a little bit about those creative ideas we have that we'd like to get into our quilts. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner, and today I'm talking about one of those subjects that I don't think enough people talk about, and the idea of getting your creative ideas into your quilts. Making that voice, your creative quilting voice, heard. So let's talk a little bit about getting those creative ideas into your quilts. Now, if this is something you like, if you could please like and subscribe, I would appreciate it. It helps me out. Also, leave me a comment. Have you had an idea that you'd like to get into a quilt and you just don't know how? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear about it and maybe even help you through with that process. Now, as human beings, we have a long history of putting our emotions into very tactile objects. And quilting is certainly one of those things that we do. Our emotions show in our quilts. So let's talk about getting that confidence of that idea and putting your emotions into your quilts so that you can feel that sense of purpose, that sense of accomplishment, that sense that I made that. The repetitive construction of a quilt, of putting that fabric through the machine and sewing, gives your mind that freeing time to just rest and relax and give that creative thought a chance to start to come to the surface. It also reinforces that new thing or solving a problem or just giving your mind a chance to wander just a little bit. There's a certain amount of calmness that we get as we are sewing at our machines. It takes the stress and the edge off of the day. It's a great way to relax in the evening, especially after a hard day at work. Just that fact of sewing fabric and getting that calmness back into our life, a new perspective on maybe an old problem or a new problem. But it also lets our mind expand and let that creative thought go, oh, well, what if I did this? Or what if I took that picture that I saw in a magazine and recreated that? There's several ways that are easy to go and do that. I'll show you a picture of one at the end. I want to encourage you a little bit, maybe even challenge you to make that quilt, to use those ideas that you have that you'd like to get into a quilt. This is a great way to express your self-worth, your value into your quilts. It's an emotion that we all have that we want to express, and sometimes it's easier in a quilt than saying it in words. So let's take a look at a few of these quilts that I've taken from the Houston Quilt Show. And these are ideas that I saw that I thought, oh, what an interesting idea, or what an interesting way to use color. So let's look at this first one. As you can see, this is just lines of fabric that the person that made this just started incorporating, and it's a really lovely stream of color and different shades of this orange to make it just go through the quilt. And it's a simple straight line stitching in order to give it the texture and contrast in order to make this quilt. Now this next quilt is also a great use of color, and I want you to use color as something to create those ideas. Make those ideas stand out a little bit. Experiment, play with the idea. Nothing's going to turn out good the first time, but just keep working with it. You'll be surprised on how quickly just playing with colors and different colors, what you will discover about what you intrinsically like about it. So let's look at this next one, and it's a great use of color also. Now, as you can see, it starts out at the top. This is a great use of circles also. That's why I think I really liked it. I like the circle pattern, but also the color where it starts out at the red at the top and then the orange and the yellows, moves in through the greens and the blues and then down to the purples in the bottom. Now, it's a very free form idea, and it's a simple way just to experiment with not only different fabrics, but different colors. Now, the quilting on this also makes a statement, and it makes those colors just kind of pop out at you like they're telling the story. So think about that, especially when you're working with something in your quilts. The quilting can enhance some of your colors and also your quilt. Now this next one is actually, I think this was a Houston winner, and it was for best use of color. And I like this one because it does have that color, and the idea, as simple as a flower, will make it look amazing. So let's look at this next one. It's a very, very good use of color, and they've got blues and purples, and it's amazing just the veins of the flowers and how she got this to show up and bring those colors out. It almost looks real. The flower itself just kind of pops out at you. That center portion of the flower just looks like it's coming out at you. Now, quilting itself can enhance a quilt. So keep that in mind, especially when you're working with your creative ideas. Now, this next quilt that I want to show you is a great use of not only the quilting, but the color values and how they bring each other out. This is a great use of not only of the color, but of a little bit of texture just by the quilting, but also by the color and how the artist chose to do her lines and make the bearded iris look like it's coming to life. And it's a very nice effect the way she did. Not only did she do her leaf, but also the petals on her flower, also the stamens inside the flower. It's almost like it just kind of pops out at you. This is a really interesting way to give your quilts those textures that they need. And just play with this. This is something that could easily be done on your domestic machine. Now this last one is made by a quilt artist, and she's really well known. And she does hers by pictures, and she uses pictures to actually bring her quilts to life. Pictures from her travels, pictures from her life. It's an interesting concept. Cynthia English is her name, or England. I think it's England. Cynthia England is her name, and she does a really interesting way of taking pictures and bringing to life. Now let's take a look at this. This was the show winner, I believe in 2018. I think it was in 18 that she won Best of Show for this one. And the nice thing about this, and what this is it's a picture of boats, and it's the way she did the reflection in the water. It makes the water look like it's real. The picture itself is amazing, but just the way she made that reflection on the water to get those lines of color and to get the reflection of the boats into the water is amazing. It's a spectacular quilt. And she accomplished this all by her method of how she does piecing. And it's a gorgeous quilt. So if you ever get a chance to go to a quilt show and just look at what's there, get ideas, take pictures. These ideas will enhance your ideas, but start working with them. Start working with fabric. Start making this a little more alive for you. You need to start experimenting in order to get to that place of, oh, this is easy, I can do this. And it's just the confidence. It's building up confidence, and it's also expressing ourselves a little bit. And sometimes we go with the safe quilt pattern or the same quilt pattern because it is safe. And we know, I've done that, I can do that again. That's easy. I want you to get out of that comfort zone a little bit and go experiment with some of these ideas and just try them out. See what you can do with them. Okay? And if you've made it this far, I want to thank you, and I appreciate it. And until next time, keep quilting.